but rather to test his team's prowess against foreign opposition ahead of the Women's AFCON. Details later in sports.
Want to join us with your views and comments here on Newsnight? So let's see WhatsApp 0244340437. My name is Evans Mensah. We'll be back after the break.
I came to Bond because I wanted to expand my business.
Bond's intervention in our company has provided us with capital to grow our stock and also to expand our machinery.
Without Bond, I should have folded by now.
The way the girls relate to you, the way they talk to you, wow, I really love it.
Just a phone call and I'll be sorted out. That assurance is incredible.
Bond is the answer to the SMEs in Ghana.
Bond there, you can move.
Bond is 10 years. Come on, let's celebrate your success, our passion.
Bond, your success, our passion.
Hello, I say, how did now? Vodafone normal 10 megabyte free data. It will call Smart Rubiadron. Share.
Hello, have you heard that Vodafone is giving 10 megabyte free data for every minute you talk? You just dial 50-50.
Yeah, hello? Aha! Right now, with the Vodafone people, just they could call plenty. So of us, you talk 1 minute, you go get 10 megabytes. You talk 2 minutes, you go get 20 megabytes. 3 minutes.
Call Vodafone or any network and get 10 megabytes of free data every minute you talk. It's simple. Talk to browse. The more you talk, the more data you get. Dial 50-50 to subscribe. Talk more, browse more. Terms and conditions apply. The future is exciting. Ready?
Hey, Yimshi. I noticed that all the national stadia in Ghana have lasted for decades.
Oh, yes. But do you also know that the concrete bridges are also decades old?
Yes.
Only one company in Ghana can give you that guarantee, and that is Gasem.
Cement that guarantees smooth finishing of plastering.
That is the Gasem Super Rapid 32.5R. If you want to have strong blocks for any form of construction, use Gasem Super Strong 42.5R. For your time-tested bridges like the Adome, multi-story buildings, highways like the motorway, then it is Gasem Extra 42.5N.
And the good news is, all these cement products are made right here in Ghana.
Gasem, 3 cement grades, unique quality. Gasem, the nation builder.
Nationwide Medical Insurance, the leader in private health insurance, has deployed superior technology to make your healthcare experience more convenient and exciting. With the Nationwide mobile app, you can order your prescription drugs and we will deliver to your doorsteps. With over 600 dependable healthcare service providers, you're just a step away locating your service provider of choice and accessing hospital claim information in real time. Our corporate clients are guaranteed timely corporate utilization reports. We provide on-site clinics to give employees access to healthcare in the comfort of their offices. Enjoy these amazing benefits and so much more by signing on to Nationwide Medical Insurance today. Call us on toll-free number 0800-222222 or visit our website www.nationwidemh.com. Nationwide Medical Insurance. Join the healthcare family.
As they say, trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair. Barclays has built a relationship with you over the last 100 years based on our understanding of your needs. We've mastered banking and guarantee your money will always be secure with us 100%. Yes, 100%. After all, that is why we are the Euromoney 2018 Best Bank in Ghana. So, whether you have corporate, SME, or personal banking needs, Barclays is still your best bet. What are you waiting for? Make your next move your best move. Open an account with Barclays now and put your future in the safest hands. Barclays, part of the Absa family.
Joy 99.7 FM.
It's live on Joy 99.7 FM. This is News Night. My name is Evans Mensah. And tonight, teacher unions have tonight called off their planned industrial action to protest government decision to resolve the governing council of the KNUST. And this follows a meeting between government and the teacher and the University Teachers Association of Ghana, at which they resolved that a new council for the KNUST will be reconstituted by this Friday, which means that the work of the controversial and heavily criticized interim governing council will cease to exist by Friday. Both TEU, the Teacher and Education Workers Union, and UTAC, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, say they've called off their strike and asking their members to follow suit. However, the minority in government is demanding the head of the education minister and the minister responsible for tertiary education, because of their positions in the past, backing the initial position of the vice chancellor, which was essentially converting the single-sex halls into mixed halls in KNUST, when he has pointed to that as the basis for the protest last week, which sparked this chain of events. Listen to the president of UTAC speaking after the Met government a couple of hours ago.
Today's meeting has been very fruitful, and we are happy that we've come to a certain consensus at the end of a long deliberation. And therefore, the information as contained in the release by government, as read by the Honorable Information Minister, we support it, and we are going to abide by it to make sure that law and order is restored on KNUST campus, and our dear students return back for us to do what we love to do best.
Well, we heard from UTAG earlier, and they insist that the Vice Chancellor will be recalled to this new substantive council that will be sworn in by Friday. I have with me on the line still the Information Minister designate, just to clear that up for us. Mr. Ponkrumah, so what happens to the Vice Chancellor? You, just before we went for the break, referred to the NCTE letter to the Vice Chancellor, asking him to temporarily sort of step aside whilst investigations go on. With this new arrangement that was reached today with UTAG, what happens to him?
Again, Evans, I'm very particular about what we report. And so let me read to you what the letter says. The letter does not say that he should step aside while investigations go on. When we put it that way, then somebody will interpret it to mean that he's been sacked. And then now somebody will say he's been reinstated, when none of that has happened. The letter says, I am to bring to your notice a further directive for you to temporarily hand over the day-to-day administration of the university to the Pro-Vice Chancellor, who shall act until otherwise advised. This is to make way for the interim council to operate freely without let or hindrance and to conduct unfettered investigations. I am to request your fullest cooperation with the exercise in general and the work of the interim council in particular. What this means is that when the work of the interim council is done, there will be no need for this directive to hand over administrative duties to hold. And as we have mentioned, the Chancellor has been asked to put in place a new council, and then all the interim measures, including military, police, this NCT letter and everything, will all be handed over to the council to proceed from there. So it's quite clear now.
Yes, but we expect the Vice Chancellor to be back on this new council.
When the council is formed in accordance with the KNUST statute, there's a place for the chairman, there's a place for the Vice Chancellor, there's a place for 2 members of convocation. There's a whole list that is there. So when it is said that council will be reconstituted in accordance with the KNUST Act, it stands to reason that the Vice Chancellor is on the council. And then subsequent to that, whatever new decisions that have to be taken about investigation, about school policy, about all of that, the council is the proper place to have that done.
Great. And finally, just before you go on this subject, whilst this new, we understand from the law, the president himself will have to make appointments, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Has that process started already? Today is Monday. Friday is just around the corner.
The Chancellor has been requested to lead the next steps in reconstituting.
Now, that's my question really. What in the law, what role has the Chancellor to play in the appointment or reconstitution of a governing council?
The KNUST Act says that the President appoints the Chancellor appoints the Chairman of Council, various groups nominate their representatives onto Council. The President will do an administrative instrument of appointment. If you read the letter with its spirit, etc., there's a lot of power that is invested in the Chancellor. And so what we have requested the Chancellor to do, of course, these are also heated and passionate moments when, people are making accusations and counter-accusations. Students are making accusations, against lecturers. All students are saying they think that it is another matter that is causing it. The students say they think it's another matter. The Chancellor is a very well-respected person, and so we have asked the Chancellor to lead the next steps in constituting the Council. The Chancellor, with great respect, is not the one who will appoint people onto the Council, but the Chancellor has room and space to engage with the various stakeholders as we work towards constituting a new council for the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And I'm happy that all the parties really understand or have come to a certain understanding of what is going on. That's why I say that we are making progress in this exercise as we restore normalcy. The next few days will be important to, again, keep cool heads and keep engaging. And we're happy that UTAG and TEU and the students and the Chancellor and everybody and government are all engaging behind the scenes so that by the timelines that we have put out, we can work towards reopening the KNUST in good time.
The Vice-Chancellor will be back in charge of day-to-day administration of the university, because as it is now, and you refer to that correctly, the Pro-Vice-Chancellor is responsible for that now per the directive of the NCTE.
I don't get your question, Evans.
The statement you read, the letter rather, the NCTE wrote to the Vice-Chancellor,
yes,
asked him to hand over day-to-day, exactly. And I'm asking whether with this arrangement he gets back to handling the day-to-day administration now of the KNUST.
We have said, and perhaps let me go over and over again, we have said that when council is constituted, all the interim measures, including the interim council and all of its powers and what we have done, will be handed over to the reconstituted council.
Okay, so that answers the question. He's back in charge of day-to-day. I just want a clarity on that, just a firm word on that. He's back in charge of day-to-day.
Yes, Evans, I think that's been obvious because, you see, when we create this impression that he has been sacked and he has been reinstated, we go back and forth. I think it's been obvious from, the beginning of our conversation that it was a temporary withholding of duties. Council is being reconstituted, and everybody and everybody's powers will now be going back to council for council to commence the next steps for us.
I'm grateful. That's the Information Minister designate there speaking to us on what has transpired today. The Vice-Chancellor of the KNUS, he's a member of the Vice-Chancellor's Ghana. What's your reaction to what has happened today? Let's speak to Professor Japon, who is the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Health and Allied Sciences. Thank you, Prof, for your time here on Newsnight. Apologies for holding you on the line. What's the reaction of Vice-Chancellor's Ghana to this latest development?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. I think Vice-Chancellor's Ghana is very happy with the outcome of all the various consultations, and this is precisely what we were requesting. Yes, there was chaos on campus, and given the threat to life and property, it was good that the university management, in consultation with the Regional Security Council, decided to close down the university and impose a curfew. That was good to avert any further distraction. And but what we're expecting was that going forward, the council was going to meet last Friday to begin to look at issues. But unfortunately, the council was dissolved. So we were actually not sure exactly what was going on. That is why we called for the reinstatement of council. But I'm happy that at the end of the day, the Chancellor of the university has stepped in to bring some resolution to the issues that were at stake. And I'm happy also to note that the position of the Vice-Chancellor is not in contention as to whether he is Vice-Chancellor or whether he was sacked or whether he was asked to step aside or whatever. The interview he conducted with the Minister for Information Designate clearly indicates that he wasn't sacked. And we want to believe that he wasn't sacked. So life goes on. As far as we are concerned, Ghana has won. Nobody has won. Ghana that has won.
And you make the point there that he wasn't sacked, but he referred to the NCTE letter to him, which was essentially for him to hand over day-to-day administration to the Pro-Vice-Chancellor. He clarifies that with this arrangement, he didn't say that categorically, but I think it's fair enough to assume that he would get back in charge of day-to-day, because as we speak currently, the Pro-Vice-Chancellor should be in charge per the NCTE directive. Yeah, actually, we were not very sure how to interpret that letter. We saw that letter, a copy of that letter today, even though it was written on Thursday. So I thought that we were making progress in the various consultations that were going on behind the scenes. And then all of a sudden, this letter that was written on Thursday, which never surfaced until today when we thought we were making progress, appeared, and weren't sure how to interpret it. And we've tried to find out from the NCTE, and clearly, as the NCTE letter says, the Executive Secretary says he was directed to write that letter. So I believe that the officials who directed him to write that letter have given clear explanation. They say he was not sacked, so we take it as such. He was not sacked. I'm grateful that you joined us. That's Professor Japon there. He is the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Health and Allied Sciences. So listening to News 90 on Joy 99.7 FM. Let's go to Parliament now, because the minority there is accusing President Akufo-Addo of committing an illegality in the appointment of Martin Oti-Jako as Deputy Bonahafo Regional Minister. The Constitution requires the President to consult substantive ministers in appointing deputies. The minority says the appointment was done in breach of the Constitution because there was no substantive minister at the time the deputy was appointed. The minority leader, Harun Idrisu, is asking the President to follow proper procedure and withdraw the nomination. Parliamentary correspondent Opoku Gakpo is on the line with us. Joseph, first of all, what's the background to this?
So you would recall that the Bonahafo Regional Minister used to be Asoma Cheme, who was moved by the President to head the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And just when that announcement was made, the President also announced that his deputy, Evans Poku-Bobie, was being appointed the substantive minister, and a new person was announced as the incoming Deputy Minister for Bonahafo Region, Martin Jako, all in a single statement that came from the presidency when the reshuffle was announced a few months ago, and the same communication came to Parliament. The minority's argument is that once the minister in charge of Bonahafo Region was moved to the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry, and a new minister was appointed and who hadn't been vetted, and at the same time a deputy was appointed, Article 256 of the Constitution is clear that the President can only appoint a deputy minister in consultation with the substantive minister. And so this move was a breach of the Constitution, and Harun Idrisu, the minority leader, indicated when the Committee of Appointments sat today to vet Martin Jako that they, the minority, wouldn't allow the President to have his way even as he commits an illegality.
And tell us what happened when that his vetting was due. From what I understand, the minority boycotted it?
No. And so what happened was that the minority leader raised the issue about the legality or otherwise and asked the chairman of the committee, Joseph Osewusu, to provide direction on how the way forward should be. But then the majority leader, Seiche Mensah-Bonsu, was at the table in that same sitting when the issue of the vetting of Martin Jako came up. And he had a counter-argument that the consultation had actually happened and the person the president consulted in appointing the deputy minister was the minister who was moved from Buna Hafo to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Asuma Cheme. So there was the argument and counter-argument between both the majority and the minority side, and eventually the chairman of the committee, Joseph Osewusu, ruled that the committee can go ahead and bet and that they wouldn't be committing any illegality. And so the vetting went on some hours ago here in Parliament, and it ended just a few minutes ago with the House indicating that they would make the necessary recommendation when sitting begins tomorrow.
Listen to the minority side on this.
Only consider the nomination of a proposed minister for the Brown Ahafo region in the person of Honorable Evans Opoku Bobie. Now, should the president, this is my assumption, say that he consulted with Honorable Evans Opoku Bobie, Chairman, with all respect, in the Sassan ruling of the Supreme Court in J. Mensah versus Attorney General, 1997, as reported, once the Honorable Evans Opoku Bobie has not had the approval of Parliament, he cannot be the person to whom the President can consult or will consult. Therefore, we find it constitutionally inappropriate to proceed further with this vetting. I want to raise that strong objection. Honorable, you know where I stand. I support you to be Deputy Minister. No reason. But the President swears an oath to uphold the Constitution and uphold the laws of Ghana. I do not think under the circumstance the President has respected the letter and spirit of the Constitution. Therefore, I'm unable to say that we should proceed. Suffice it if the President can communicate to this committee when and with whom he did the consultation, we can proceed further. I so raise. So strongly, Chairman, I've referred you to the appropriate constitutional provisions.
Let's listen to the majority side, their reaction to what you just heard from the minority.
The President may, in consultation with the Minister of State for a region and with the prior approval of Parliament, appoint for the region a Deputy Minister or Deputy Ministers to perform such functions as the President may determine.79(1) Minority Leader also quoted for us Article 79(1) of the Constitution. First of all, there is a world of difference between Article 79(1) and 2562. Whereas Article 2562 uses the definite article there. In Article 79(1), there is an indefinite article that is used. The two cannot be the same, the two cannot mean the same. But coming back to Article 2562, the President may, in consultation with the Minister of State for a region and with the prior approval of Parliament, appoint for the region a Deputy Minister or Deputy Ministers to perform such functions as the President may determine. What it means is that the President may elect to appoint a Deputy Minister for a region. He may or may not appoint a Deputy Minister. If he decides to appoint a Deputy Minister, he must consult the Minister of State. The question to ask is whether the President consulted the Minister of State. Who was the Minister of State at the time? The Minister of State at the time was the Honorable Ansu Chireme, Asuma Chireme. The minority leader seems to draw us to the path as if the President ought to have consulted the Honorable Evans Opoku Bobie, who is not yet the substantive minister. The President could not have consulted him. The President could not have consulted him because at the time he was not the substantive minister. The substantive minister was the Honorable Asuma Chireme, and the President indeed consulted him. The letter that he quotes for us is dated 24th August. The letter the minority leader quotes for us is dated 24th August. Now, on record, I'm aware that the President engaged in consultation with the minister.
Which record, Chairman?
Thankfully, the minority leader, Haruna Iddrisu, is on the line with us right now. Mr. Iddrisu, I'm grateful for your time here on Newsnight. From what I hear, in spite of the concerns you have, you still stood and waited for the vetting. You continue with the vetting nonetheless, correct?
Evans, I raised a preliminary constitutional objection, and I still stand by it, and I trust that that will be captured in the report for us to take it to plenary and debate. But just to isolate the issues for you. I'm raising a constitutional issue, whether by the letter and spirit of Article 2562 of the Constitution, which is on the decentralized provisions of the Constitution relative to appointment of a regional minister as Minister of State and a Deputy Minister, whether the President can at the same time, materially same time, appoint a Brown-Harford Regional Minister and a Deputy Brown-Harford Regional Minister. My understanding will be for the President to consult the Brown-Harford Regional Minister in order to appoint a deputy to assist him or to work with him, because they would be working together. For the majority leader to say record, what record? That record is not before Parliament, is not before us at the Appointments Committee. And more importantly, he cannot be consulting a minister who is departing and a minister who is going to Lands and Forestry, because he's not coming in as a deputy minister to that minister. So we think that the present action is constitutionally inappropriate, and the president must be seen respecting the letter and spirit of the Constitution. Now, when you take it to Article 78 and 79(1), that is relative to cabinet ministers, but all of it use the same word. We cannot be part of that unconstitutionality. We think that the president must withdraw and reappoint him after having consulted with an approved substantive minister, because for the time being, there is no Brown-Harford regional minister and a minister for that region. We don't have any problem with the Honorable Otijako. He's one of our colleagues. He's already met the minimum requirements under Article 94 of the Constitution. But we are guardians of the Constitution, and as Parliament, we are to safeguard and ensure that the President governs this country in accord with law. That we demand of him.
So as you'll say in the Bible, you don't want to visit the sins of the president on your colleague?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's a constitutional sin, so it's serious. Because don't forget, in the J.H. Mensah, famous ruling of J.H. Mensah versus Attorney General, the term pre-approval was defined. For our purposes, Parliament has not approved a minister for the Brown-Harford. So who did the president consult with? Who?
Let's ask.
Constitutional wrong.
Let's ask your colleague Obi Amwa. He's a member of the Appointments Committee and also a lawyer. Ms. Amwa, this, from what we hear from the minority, is a clear constitutional breach there. One that's Constitution specifies consultation. There's no substantive minister. So, as the question goes from the minority, who did the president consult?
Well, thank you so much. Of course, on the face of it, we were all wondering whether there had been some consultation. But we should also take into consideration the fact that an announcement was made changing ministers or giving other portfolios to other ministers on the 9th of August 2018. And the Brown-Harford regional minister was asked to stay on to 20th August when he will hand over. The Speaker of Parliament had a letter from the President on 24th August nominating these ministers, including the Brown-Harford regional minister and his deputy. So as far as we are concerned, between the 9th and the 20th, when the regional minister was still in place, or in charge of the region, obviously he could have been consulted. I'm saying this because if any action was taken between 9th and 20th by the regional minister as vice chairman, he had been given that authority to take those actions before moving to the last ministry. And if within that period he was consulted about the incoming deputy minister, we think that there's nothing wrong with that.
You use the word "could." If you're not sure if he was consulted, the president is the constitution is very categorical about the consultation.
No,
there's no ambiguity there. But you are introducing ambiguity to the conversation.
Yes, I made a point in Parliament at the committee level. As far as we are concerned, every time the president makes an appointment or nominates a person to be a deputy, the assumption is that the minister in charge had been consulted. Never have we asked for evidence of consultation in Parliament. And what we have is a letter from the Chief of Staff, dated 15th August, indicating that the then regional minister should hand over on 20th August. So between 9th and 20th, he was still in charge. Anything that he did there was legitimate. So the assumption is that within that period, the president would have consulted him that this is the deputy that I want to help in running the region. And this whole provision, I've looked at it again. It's a bit awkward. Awkward in the sense that if there is a deputy minister in place and then a minister is appointed, does it mean that the deputy minister in place should be withdrawn until that minister has been consulted? Let's take a situation where I'm a deputy minister at Ministry of Local Government. If for any reason my minister is assigned somewhere, is it assumed that the incoming minister should also be consulted before I stay on as deputy minister? This is the absurdity that I'm seeing in this whole provision. But on the face of it, we have been informed that the president consulted the then minister in charge of the region, and that based on that, he submitted a list to Parliament.
I'm wondering whether this episode will change anything about the way the Appointments Committee has done its work, especially with verifying this bit of the Constitution before you actually go ahead with the vetting.
Well, it's assumed that once a deputy minister has been nominated, then the substantive minister has been consulted. But now, if at the committee level we want evidence of consultation, then we should spell out what kind of evidence that should be presented before us. Is it audio? Is it by letter? Is it a video that we want to see? That is where probably it should be a bit absurd. But the most important thing is that the Constitution says the president should consult the minister in charge, and then with the prior approval of Parliament, the nominee would then be also appointed. As for the prior approval, that's what we've been doing in Parliament. For the consultation, if we want evidence of consultation from the president, then we should spell out how the president should do that.
Mr. Drisu, what changes do you want to see in the way the committee had always done its work? Clearly, from what you're raising, it appears this is a good opportunity for you to take a second look at the way you've worked.
Well, it would be a bit difficult if you say that we are compelling the president to show evidence of consultation. If for any reason this matter is raised and the speaker also feels strongly about it, probably may communicate with the president. The president would also show the form of evidence we want as consultation. But as it is now, the moment the letter is submitted, the assumption is that the substantive minister has been consulted.
Yeah. Let me ask a brief question to Mr. Haruna Iddrisu. Mr. Iddrisu, are you still with us on the line? Hello, Mr. Haruna Iddrisu. Appear to have lost him there, but I'm grateful. Obi Amwa, he's a member of the Appointments Committee. Earlier, he had the Haruna Iddrisu, who is the minority leader, speaking to us about today's controversy surrounding the deputy Bono Ahafo regional minister. When we return from business, and George, you'll be interested in this, hundreds to lose jobs as textiles and other manufacturers hint they may lay off workers as general economic conditions in the country hit hard.
Well, Evans, coming up in business, I'll be telling you what are the headlines in business because government and transport operators agree not to adjust fares as the various factors doesn't support an increase. And Bank of Ghana assures of adequate measures to sustain city's good run. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. And Mark Auto Parts, distributors of Isuzu pickups and Chevy cars.
In this part of the world, we rise early, way before the sunrise. We plan, we pray, we prep, just so we are a step ahead. We keep the conversations going to stay connected to family, friends, and business. They say, Agrobeswa Ifrianopa. Start your day bright with MTN Kokroko. For only 1 Ghana cedi, you can enjoy 400 megabytes of data and 30 minutes of free MTN to MTN calls every day from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. everywhere you go. Dial *138# to buy MTN Kokroko bundle now.
But the best, we stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh Yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Now, this very moment, it's the pulse of possibility, potential, power. It's time
to make your move,
to take that step.
The time
is now.
Now. The great things you do tomorrow start with the small steps you take right now. So take that step with Old Mutual. Call us on 0302-230-638 and make now count. Old Mutual. Do great things every day.
Hello, young CEOs, SMEs, business leaders, and entrepreneurs. It's the second Ghana SME and Young CEO Summit and Expo, a unique one-day world-class forum for knowledge gains on business scale-ups, corporate best practices, and expanding your network of top-level business contact, to be held on the 26th of November 2018 at the Kempinski Hotel, Accra. Theme: Corporate Leadership Governance, Strong Pillar for Business and Economic Growth. Be enlightened by world-class faculty CEO mentors, keynote speakers, panelists, experts, and government officials. For registration, sponsorships, and corporate exhibitions, visit GhanaSMECEOSummit.com or call 0546 391 970 or 0277 899 000. The second Ghana SME and Young CEO Summit and Expo is powered by CEO Network Ghana and Deloitte.
Joy 99.7 FM, radio for the discerning listener.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. And government and transport operators have agreed not to increase fares. The decision was taken after an emergency meeting to discuss industry development. At the end of the meeting, both parties agreed the current variables doesn't support any review. Now, this because per an agreement with the transport operators, if fares or transport or even prices of petroleum products goes up by 10% over a 3-month period, that should warrant an increase in fares. Now, present at the meeting were the Transport Ministry officials, chairman of the National Commission, that is the national chairman for Road and Transport Coordinating Council, as well as chairman for the Ghana Private Transport Union. In a related development, the transport consultant Cecil Gabra tells Joy Business the decision was in the right direction because the factors doesn't support an adjustment.
Right, there are so many factors: fuel, wear and tear of the vehicle, salaries to the drivers, the spare parts, etc., that they also have to look at. But I think they are only looking at the other side of the coin, which is fuel. But if they come up and talk about the issue of the city, I believe that it's also time for the government to give them, as the Ministry of Transport, to give them the format of calculating these increases on transport fees for them to know what goes into it. But then if it's also kept under lock and key, that doesn't really make sense. I mean, if they have it, they will know that, oh, this is not the time for us to increase fuel. Because after all, in a few weeks, if you look at the cost per barrel of crude oil, it is dropping all over, and I do believe that it will drop, and that is also going to affect the increment that you are looking at. So they should wait a little bit. It's not yet time.
So Gabra is a transport consultant. Still on oil-related issues, the Chamber of Bulk Oil Importers have confirmed that it is in discussions with government over a new financial arrangement to help stabilize prices at the pumps. The deal will see government intervene to deal with the foreign exchange challenges that importers are exposed to ensure that they are given some professional agreement in terms of securing dollars to help finance their imports. Senya Hosi is Chief Executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distribution Companies.
What we are practically doing is developing an oil FX market, a bit of a derivative market. So a market where we could probably trade more competitive forwards. Currently, petroleum pricing is done with speculative forward pricing. which in itself is defective. You either overprice or you underprice. When you overprice, you're making consumers overpay. When you underprice, you're also endangering the banking sector. So there has to be a balance. But more importantly, it's also giving government an opportunity to intervene through the Bank of Ghana on the FX side by supplying FX directly to the oil markets in times of high speculation. So if you see that there's a huge variance between the Bank of Ghana's FX pricing and the open market FX pricing, you realize that that variance can negatively impact the petroleum price. Because if I'm pricing something at 5.1 on the open market and Bank of Ghana is selling FX at 4.7, pricing at 5.1 maybe at some 5% or so more to the consumer than the Bank of Ghana's own. So when there are high speculation and there's a huge variance, what you do is the Bank of Ghana can now come into the market and supply that 4.7 to the oil market. Prioritize it. Because
Chief Executive of the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distribution Companies, that is Senyor Hosina. Government has sworn in a management consultant and an entrepreneur, Eko Hackman, as the new board chair of the Bulk Oil Storage and Transportation Company. He replaces the immediate past chairman, that is Champunchi, who resigned recently. The Deputy Minister of Energy in charge of Petroleum, Alhaji Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, who swore the board member into office today, charged him together with the new member to work to actually improve the fortunes of the company. Now, the Bank of Ghana says it has already instituted some measures to help sustain the city's good run in the short term. The local currency has witnessed one of its strongest gain in value over the past few weeks and is currently trading at around 4 Ghana cedis, 82 pesos. Advisor to the Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Benjamin Amoah have been speaking about some reforms being implemented to help with the situation.
Guidelines for the operations of the FX industry, and when it's complete, we'll make it public. We have to consult with the stakeholders, the banks and other stakeholders, so that decisions, pricing, everything will be rule-based. So we are working on those things, and when they are done, we'll make it public.
And you believe that these measures that they are putting in place would help bring some, currencies around the world have blips, but we will see some marginal stability in the FX market.
Supporting the market with liquidity. Most of the lump sum inflows come to the central bank. So we just play our normal role of smoothing the edges to avoid volatilities, and we'll continue to do that. We have enough reserves to be able to do that. When you take away the noise coming from outside, you would see that the city is reasonably stable.
And that's some assurance from the advisor to the central bank governor, that is Dr. Benjamin Amoah, about measures being put in place to sustain the city's good run. If you hold shares of Standard Chartered Bank, the value of each share held has dropped by 2 Ghana cedis, 34 pesos, to close at 22 Ghana cedis, 66 pesos. Also, Fan Milk, if you are a shareholder, you've lost 1 cedi and it's now worth 11 Ghana cedis. That's all for business on Newsnight.
And George, this story will interest you. You know, the budget is when?
November 15th.
15th. And ahead of that, some interest groups, businesses, etc., they've been meeting.
Behind the scenes engagement.
Yes, a lot of engagements.
Issues about taxation has dominated
a lot of engagements. And they've been trying to meet the various committees in Parliament, just trying to lobby, see if they can get government to sort of put in incentives that will help their business grow. One of such industries is the textiles industry. And we're hearing today from the meeting they held from the minority side on the Trades Committee and Employment Committee that they are proposing, in fact, they are projecting that some 600 workers of their Kosomo Textiles company alone may lose their jobs under the current economic conditions. And in fact, we are told of a similar story with, say, manufacturing of, say, food, beverages, industry as well, all making the same complaints.
About bailout, because the interesting thing about this budget, this will be the first budget under this administration post an IMF program. So government now has the room to do their own things and not say that the IMF was putting restrictions on us, you can't hire and all those things. Now you have the room, manage the economy.
Yeah, and these groups, particularly the textiles group, they've met the minority side on the Employment and Social Welfare Committee today, just to put across their view and ask for some incentives in the 2019 budget. Listen to Dr. Kwabena Donkor, who is a ranking member on that committee.
If you go beyond the financial sector, if you take industry, if you take the manufacturing industry, today Akosombo Textiles is threatening to lay off 600 workers by the end of this month.
Which is a few days away. And we've seen this coming, yet there has been no deliberate intervention by government to forestall this. The indigenous manufacturing sector is suffering. If you take the beverages industry, the Association of Drink and Beverage Manufacturers are also threatening to lay off staff because of the implementation, how the stamp duty regime is being implemented is impacting negatively on their business. I am worried. I'm worried because we are losing permanent jobs and we want to just pay some plaster over the cracks in the form of temporary jobs, and this doesn't augur well. So for the ones that you just spoke about, you think that government policies are responsible for the current state of these manufacturing companies such that they want to now lay off workers?
Absolutely. The Ghanaian state has not taken manufacturing seriously. Taking manufacturing seriously is not just lip service. It is also putting in place policies that will inure to the domestic manufacturing sector.
The General Secretary of the Textile, Garment and Leather Employees Union, Abraham Kumsin, is on the line with us right now. Thank you, Mr. Kumsin, for your time here on Newsnight. I think we lost him. Hello, Mr. Kumsin. Hello, Mr. Kumsin. We seem to have lost him on the line. We'll get him back and get a few thoughts from him on this current situation with the textiles industry, talking about some 600 of workers who may have to go home. Mr. Kumsin is back on the line. Hello, Mr. Kumsin.
Yes.
How dire is the situation we hear about?
The situation is too bad, but the management has not officially communicated to the union as to their decision to lay off. But the signs are on the walls. We can see that anything can happen.
What is the problem, really?
No, as we speak now, the workers will go home, to go and rest. By next week, they will go home because the raw materials are not coming as they should come. They sometimes some few bales, about 100 bales comes, and in a matter of some few days, they finish with it, and the workers will have to go home and go and wait for weeks, sometimes months. Then they will be called back when they get some supply. And I don't think that this is good business. There's no serious businessman who will be able to, sustain this kind of activities. Meanwhile, the workers will be in the house, and you'll have to pay them. So how do you break even?
I just wanted to understand, what would it take to fix this problem and bring ATL back to a productive company able to employ all these workers?
The noise that they are making, I for the future of ATL and other textile companies, Evans, I think that we have to be very, very and address the challenges that threaten these companies. They're talking too much, and I think that
I get you. You talked about challenges, but you haven't specified any particular challenge. But I was just going straight to the point about what would it take, specifics to.
It has to do with this counterfeiting, pirating, smuggling, and all that. And we started making noise. Even we've been talking about this. It appears they think we are doing politics, but this is not about politics. It's about the realities on the ground. And I don't know. They don't want to address the issue of this. They are introducing tax stamps. And I have told the ministry that tax stamps will not address the problem of counterfeiting and pirating. Tax stamp will help the government some revenue. Yes, that's what I agree. But not to address the problem of counterfeiting. It will not. It will not. So they are. I don't know whether they are confused or they deliberately are doing all these things just to buy time. Just to buy time, not to put in measures that will address the problems that confront
the budget is in 2 weeks. What are you expecting?
I'm not hearing you.
The budget is in the 2019 budget is in 2 weeks. What do you want in that budget that may turn this around?
Budget, this is a paperwork. I mean, they do these things almost every time, and nothing comes out of it. They can write anything. The implementation and the application of whatever they put there is what matters. I don't believe in this budget thing. They write so many nice things, and at the end of the day, nothing happens.
I'm grateful that you joined us. That's Abraham Kumsing. He is the General Secretary of the Textile, Garment, Leather Employees Union. Thank you very much, sir. To a lady who likes all the things I mentioned, textile, garment, leather.
Really?
And you look it right now.
Thank you.
Baba.
Hi.
What do you have in the headlines?
Won't you welcome me back?
Welcome back.
Shame on you, because MFI is not here. You're maltreating me.
MFI is looking at you with some eye behind in the
MFI, don't worry. You still have him all to yourself. I'm done with him.
Oh, Christ. What do you have in the headlines, Babs?
Head coach of the senior national female team, the Black Queens, Bashir Hayford, is excited at the opportunity for his team to engage Zambia, Kenya, and South Africa in friendlies as part of preparations towards the Women's AFCON. The Black Queens, who are aiming to win the tournament for the first time, will leave Ghana tomorrow, Tuesday, October 30, ahead of the 3 international friendlies. They play Zambia's Chipolopolo for the first time. They play Chipolopolo first on November 3. They then take on Kenya on November 7 and return to Ghana on November 9 to wrap up the international training tour with the Banyana of South Africa in Accra. Bashir Hayford is not looking at necessarily beating any of these 3 countries, but rather just to test his team's prowess against international opposition.
Surety is a question that is very difficult to answer because it is only God who is sure what he's doing. What I am saying is that it will help us to prepare very well and also pick our strength against them and see the standard outside Ghana. Because now the standard we have here is the standard we have and nothing can change it. But when you compare and see that your standard is also okay with this, then we see if it is not up to this thing, then we see how you put in your maximum best to make sure increase the standard. I'm not even interested in beating. I'm interested in seeing the standard that we are going to play outside Ghana.
The training tour will also inform Coach Bashir Hayford's decision as to who makes the cut, as he is expected to prune down his team of 38 players currently to the final 21 by next week. And Evans, Team Naye, Man
Which
U.
team is that?
Man U.
Please, we don't like that.
Oh, aye.
No.
Okay,
we are no longer. We are not there at all.
It's okay. Talking about the EPL, Tottenham will take on Manchester City in about an hour and 5 minutes from now. And there's tennis also going on as we look ahead to wrapping up the ATP Tour of the year 2018. The Rolex Masters began today, but the big shots, most of them will play tomorrow. So you have Milos Raonic taking on Joe Wilfried Tsonga. Novak Djokovic takes on Joao Sousa. Marin Cilic takes on Philip Kohlschreiber. And then we also have Gilles Simon taking on Luca Pouille. Kyle Edmund up against Karen Khachanov. There's all of this. All of these fixtures are on the sports page of myjoyonline.com. That's your sports. Good evening, Evans.
Baba, grateful. Now, former President John Mahama has taken on President Akufo-Addo, accusing him of peddling falsehood and ignorance in the $1 million one constituency promise. He's been addressing party executives at Obom Domiabra as part of his tour of the Greater Accra region.
When somebody makes a promise, either out of ignorance or deliberate falsehood, that when you come into office, you give every constituency $1 million every year. Then you wonder what the person intends to do. Are you taking the electorate for a ride or what? And you know that you cannot fulfill it. That's $275 million every year, times 4 years. That's over $1 billion. You know you can't do it. And yet, why did you say it? Until when you talk, they say, oh, it was a mere thought. Were you dreaming or you were asleep or what? You know, but the danger is that when you do that, you shake the confidence of the electorate in the leadership. Because then people stop believing the leaders. And if you can't have the belief and trust of your people, then how do you lead them? And so today you hear people saying that, oh, all politicians are liars. Or lots of politicians, they're just going to deceive you. And that is because of our colleagues. I went and one chief was saying, politicians, you must say what you can do. Don't go saying things that you can't do. And I told him, Chief, with all due respect, when you're addressing these advices, address them to the correct person you want to talk to.
Well, former president also predicted a gloomy Christmas ahead.
If we win the 2020 elections, it will be based on the work that the executives do. And I want to promise you that, look, this time, because our constitution says in opposition we must elect the flag bearer 2 years before the election, the good thing is that it gives us time. My hope is that we'll finish the national executive elections and the presidential primaries in December, so that when we finish, we all will go for Christmas. We'll go and spend New Year. I know it's going to be a very difficult Christmas and a very difficult New Year because there's no money anywhere. There's hardship everywhere.
And that's former President John Dramani Mahama. Now, many children in several communities in 4 regions of the country have been left out of the just-ended national campaign against measles and rubella. Now, that's because nurses and health workers did not have any means of transporting what they have, the hard-to-reach villages. They just could not reach these areas. The Eastern, Volta, Central, and 3 regions of the north were affected. John News' Justice Bedu travelled with one nurse to the island community of Enchi in the Afram Plains to see how medics assess these areas for vaccination.
The canoe we are traveling in now is a commercial one that moves in and out of the island once a day. And so if you miss it, you have no other means of traveling there. I've had to pay the boat rider 150 cedis to charter it for this trip.
Ghana Health Service is not having an engine boat. We have to get about 3-4 communities in a day, and we have spent almost 5 hours on the river.
The syringes Moses is going to use are in a paper box with the seal forced open by the strong winds. The canoe is shaking and the water level is unusually high and cold.
Thank you.
We arrive in the Eti community, a fishing island home to about 1,000 people. All the structures here are mud houses roofed with thatch. Several children running around. Eti is just one of about 10 islands, but it's the children here who are the lucky ones to be immunized.
And Justice Bedu with that report. And it's now time for Flipside as I exit. And we end with a Flipside question. How many sides has a triangle?
How many sides does a triangle have?
Triangle. Many. I can't count it.
Hey!
Okay, I think 60.
Master, you do everything, my dear brother. You do all.
How many sides does a triangle have?
It's like one. It's a complete one.
No, you sure say you're not confused?
4 square, Anna.
Oh, better.
How many sides does a triangle have?
4.
Use your common sense.
How many sides does a triangle have?
4.
Well, enjoy the rest of your evening. My name is Evans Mensah.